Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
G'day Internet, my name is Scott and I'm here today to talk about the Liberal Democratic Party of Australia. I'm reviewing all of the political parties in Australia. The 2013 federal election happens next week, and so I'm looking at all of the parties in detail, all 54 of the registered parties with the AEC. And today we're looking at the Liberal Democratic Party. Okay, so now the LDP. Now they are not. They're not the Liberal Party of Australia. They're not in the Liberal coalition. They're not the Democrats, the Australian Democrats, and they're not the Democratic Labor Party. So there are all these names. They're all different, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing all of these reviews. So the Liberal Democratic Party. Now these guys were founded in 2001. So they've been around a while. That's a comparatively long time for political parties, over 10 years. And they're fairly organised. They've got a lot of policies and they know what they want. So yeah, compared to, I guess I'm not saying that parties who are younger and haven't been around as long are not organised. There are certainly some parties that are very organised yet were founded very recently, such as, for example, the Australian Independents, who were founded last year and they've got a huge amount of policies. But anyway, the LDP. So their chairman is a man called Peter Whelan, and he comes from, well, he's been in politics for a while, but previous to his tenure in politics, he worked in chemical engineering, and he also, I guess, worked in business and had close ties to mining. He is also the president of of a sports shooting association, and one of the I think the vice chairman of the LDP. I didn't catch his name, but he was a former member of the Liberal Party, and he seemed very concerned with economic freedom. So that's the sort of thing you're getting with this party. The LDP, now they claim themselves as they're called and they call themselves a classic libertarian party. A lot of their policies I found to be, when I was reading through them, slightly conservative in nature. Certainly, they have a couple of policies that are particularly libertarian, and I define libertarian as not conservative. One could also define it as the freedom for individuals to choose things. And certainly a lot of their policies do have a focus around less governance, if you will, and I guess more choice, more freedom for people to make their own choices. That said, I did find a lot of their parties to be, a lot of their policies to be fairly conservative. And yeah, certainly probably not as conservative as, say, the Liberal Party. They're certainly not extremists. But I would say they're at least as conservative as the Australian Labor Party. But let's go through some of them and hopefully you can see what I mean. Okay, so the LDP, now therefore, they support euthanasia and people to be able to choose to undertake voluntary euthanasia. In case you're not sure, euthanasia it's defined as the ending of one's life. So they support people's making the voluntary decision to do that if they wish. They're also for people to choose if they wish to use cannabis, and they're also a party that supports some slight cuts to the defence forces. So I guess to whilst they still recognise that the defence force is a necessary body of of Australian service, they do wish to have some cuts in the name of, I guess, tax reduction. One of their more could be viewed as controversial policies is their view on the privatisation of government services. So that's, I guess, the selling and making, the selling of certain services and making them companies. We're talking about things like Medibank Privates, Australia Post, public transport systems, and I hesitate to say this, but ABC and SBS. They'd like to sell them and make them companies, I guess, making them liable to all of the things any company is: company takeovers, different ownership, different people. So that's their policy on privatisation. They're a group that strongly supports genetic modification, and they're all for that, and they're all for the forestry industry. They have an interesting policy on endangered species, and they would like to see more, I guess, the removal of laws that are preventing native animals from becoming pets. So they believe that things like apple trees and cats and dogs are commonplace because they're domesticated, if you will. And they would like to see more Australian species become domesticated, which is their opinion. So that's cool. They're a party that's very much a group that supports hunting. And like I mentioned, the chairman is someone who is president of a sports shooters association. So naturally, they support hunting. The party is very much against recycling. They don't believe in recycling. They believe that recycling can have a net environmental detriment effect rather than a benefit effect. So they don't want to see recycling policies at all, and they'll remove any, any reimbursement schemes for recycling initiatives. In regards to national parks, they believe, quote, national parks have no purpose if they are not accessible to people who pay for them, taxpayers, end quote. They I guess, support more recreational use of national parks, and more human intervention in parks. The LDP are very strict on their policy in foreign aid. They basically want no foreign aid. They wouldn't like to continue to have any kind of financial obligation to support other countries. The LDP support free trade agreements over fair trade. So I guess that's in favour of increased market competition. And I guess they favour the side of business in the trade debate. They support monitored immigration, but they feel that an agenda item for them would be to toughen the laws on citizenship. They now industrial relations is where I thought that they were a particularly conservative party here. In regards to other libertarian parties, they want to abolish the ban on low-paid work, referred to as the minimum wage, and abolish minimum employment conditions. They're for contracts and as opposed to traditional employment methods, and therefore restricting unions in the workplace. So that's a debate. These changes, if the LDP become a governing body, would greatly favour employers. It would give the employer more freedom to choose how they run their workforce. It would being in support of contract means that I guess a worker has less negotiation rights and less long-term privileges in their work from a career point of view. So I guess it would give more flexibility to the employers, but it would give less flexibility to the employee. Where else? Other policies. The group supports... so some of their libertarian policies, they openly support marriage equality, hands down. And they don't believe the government has any right to favour one system of marriage or another. They have two specific policies on freedom in Taiwan, recognition of Taiwan as an independent state or nation, and the same with Tibet. So they would like to support the Free Tibet movement, if you will, and the same with the Free Taiwan movement. And the other party, the other policy I wanted to mention, which was also a libertarian policy, is to support some changes to the police force and to introduce, I guess, more limited and regulated powers for the police. So again, they're a party that definitely know what they want. They're very organised, and yeah, obviously they've been around over a decade. They're a bit of a mixed bag in terms of some left wing policies and some right wing policies. It's yeah, that's but that's who they are. That's the LDP. So yeah, I will put a post to the party website and a link to the party website and a link to the Wikipedia page of the party, and they're both in the description of this video. And feel free to like this if you wish, share it if you want to, and I'll see you at my next review. Thank you.